I'm your host, Kelly Morgan, indie author and indie publisher. Welcome to another episode of The Author's Mic. Welcome to today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Author's Mic. It's Kelly, indie author, indie publisher, and you know it's Monday because we have a guest. I want to welcome Christine Layne. I actually met Christine through Threads. She was actually looking for authors to do book signings, and so I did two of them with her and invited her to the Author's Mic, and here she is. And that just shows you collaboration networking. Christine, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Kelly.
You are so welcome. So I'm excited because, when you set up your table, you have a lot of books. And so I get a chance to ask you about all the stuff that you've got going on. So tell me about your journey. Like, how did you become an author? Like, was that like on the forefront? Did you kind of fall into it? And like, how many books have you published and how did you publish?
The story of how I got into writing is actually kind of funny. I always kind of wanted to be a writer when I was younger. I wanted to write something, I wanted to publish something, put my name out there, but I could never finish anything. I never finished from beginning to end, and um, I actually didn't think about it for probably almost 2 decades. And when my youngest son was born, he quit sleeping at about 4 months old, and he woke up 3 times a night until he was all about 13 months old. And he wouldn't take a bottle, he wouldn't take a pacifier, he only wanted mom. So, um, what would happen is I would nurse him and I'd put him down to sleep, and then I would try to go to sleep to get a little nap, basically. And I was always so anxious about him waking up that I couldn't relax enough to go to sleep. So I decided to start telling myself sort of like a bedtime story, like a distraction, something that I didn't have to really think about that hard. And what ended up happening is I wrote a book. I I enjoy zombie movies. And so my go-to thought process was, okay, I'm laying in bed. If the zombie apocalypse happened right now, what would I do? And I basically came to the conclusion that I we would just die because I had two small children, and what was I gonna do? So I basically created a character and sent her on all of these adventures. And what I didn't realize I was doing was character development, world building, plotting. And after almost a year of doing that, I decided to write it down. And what began as a bedtime story turned into 90,000 words. So
Wow, that's cool. So is that a series? Was that a
it
book series?
it's unpublished at the moment. It was supposed to be one book, and it has since expanded into five in my head. I have written two of them. The second one is still in like a second draft phase, but I've got them planned out, so eventually they will get published. Um, I tried to query the first one, so I wanted the book deal, I wanted the publisher, I wanted them to do it all for me, and it was so discouraging. And um, just rejection after rejection, and sometimes not even an answer. I probably have a dozen queries still out there that have never been answered. And in the process of all of this, I connected with these two other women who write romance. And so we swapped stories, and it was the first time I'd ever read a romance. And I thought, oh, that was fun. So I wrote my own. And that's where my first romance book came from, because I decided I had to publish something. I wanted to do it, wanted to get it done. So I made my pen name and self-published it on Amazon. And nobody told me that that was, a gateway to book addiction. And I just wanted to do it more and more and more. So I've not stopped.
So how many books have you published?
I have self-published four romance novels.
And are you a romance? I mean, is that what you write? Is that your genre, or is that just a genre that you write?
that is right now the main genre that I write. It sort of took over my life, and because I wrote the first book, and then I wanted to write more, and I had all these ideas, and I didn't want to like lose the momentum and readers and stuff. So I kept doing with the romance, and it is something I enjoy. I do like to read it. I like to write it. But there's another side of me, the side that, likes the zombies, that every once in a while, has to kill off a character. So I write dark romance and horror stories under my real name, and then the romance under Christine.
Interesting. So, what would you say is the hardest part, or maybe not, I won't say hardest, the most challenging part about being an indie author?
There's so many things because I think the most challenging part, aside from like the financial aspect of it, because you front the money for everything, um, is probably just the self-discipline.
Mm,
Because you don't have a publisher breathing down your neck, wanting your drafts and wanting your edits and all of these things back. There are certain deadlines you kind of have to hold yourself to. Like if you put up a pre-order, you got to make sure you get your manuscript loaded before the pre-order or the release date. Um, or if you when you hire an editor, you've got to have your manuscript to them by a certain date.
right.
But for the most part, you set all of those goals yourself, and so you have to be disciplined and self-aware to make sure you hit all of those.
So how long, from the time that you published that first book till today, how long would you say, yes, I've been an indie author? How many years?
Um, what's this? 2020. I published my first book in June of 2023, so indie author. I published 2 years.
So, in your journey, I'm interested, the romance books, you're not the first romance person I've talked that writes romance. I don't know if I could write romance. I don't mind watching it. My mind instantly, when you guys say romance, I go Lifetime,
Oh,
right? Hallmark,
yeah,
right? That,
yeah.
I think doesn't most romance have to have a happy ending? Don't the characters have to end up together,
It
right?
has to have a happy ending that or a happy for now. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to jump ahead and show them when they're 80 years old together, but you've got to basically you have to show that there's the commitment is happening, whether or not they're married at the end of the book, but there is insinuated that it's going to happen. Um, and happy endings look different for everybody. Most of my actually all of my characters, generally they get married at the end. Um, but I haven't had characters yet that have wanted kids.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So that's been different. But but I think that that's the biggest thing about romance is it's got to have that happy ending guarantee. Otherwise, what are we reading it for?
Right, it's not romance, right? That's cool. I don't know if I'm necessarily a romance writer. I can see it, but like I said, Lifetime,
Hmm.
Lifetime is kind of more of a dark romance because Lifetime's always the revenge type thing, right?
Right.
And then there's the Hallmark
Hallmark
where
is.
everything turns out great romance, which are fine too. So there's a place for that, right? Definitely. So I think
Mhm.
that's fantastic. So Christine, if people I wanted to ask you, are any of the books series or are they all standalones?
They are all standalone. I'm working on a series that I'm gonna start releasing in January, and they're novellas, so they're only about a quarter of the size of my novels. But I have one for every month of the year, and I'm gonna release them every 3 months for the next 3 years. So they will technically be a series, but you can read them in any order. You don't have to read them in order. They'll just be interconnected.
So in if you ever did a series or any of your books are the heroine, are they ever the same person? Are they all different people? Are you going to have that one lady, the one character that goes through the zombie apocalypse? Is she going to have a series? Because now I'm not into zombie movies at all, right? I do not,
Right.
nothing ever happens good at the
No.
end of a zombie movie, right? And
Hmm.
so I'm interested in your zombie apocalypse because you're like, what would I do? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I know what I would do. It would be over for me, right? I'm done.
Yeah.
However, would your protagonist continue on? Would there be a whole zombie canon that you would create?
Yes. So the five books would be the same female and male characters from the first book will go all the way through to the last book. Um, they'll have different antagonists, um, and different settings. They'll be in different places, but those two characters will travel the whole series.
And I gotta ask you, when you write, because I don't know about you, when you write, do you see your books as movies?
I do. My one of my writing partners and I talk about this all the time that we'll either add in too much detail or not enough because I can see exactly the facial expressions that my characters are having or the mannerisms that they have, things they do, and she'll leave me notes like you don't have to say this again. Like we got the idea that, he chews on his lip or um oh my gosh, I had one. I said it to my beta readers. I had to leave them a note and I said, I know that my male main character winks all the time. I was reading it and it was like every other paragraph he was winking at the female main character. I was like, I am working on it, so just ignore that.
That is so
Um,
funny because you
but then
want to
sometimes
it's
it's
hard to
like,
put what you see in your head on paper.
yeah, and that sometimes is like we get too close to the story, so we don't put enough because we know what's going on. Like we know what's going on in our characters' heads. We know what they're doing in the scene. And so sometimes I don't write enough detail. And my writing partner will leave me a note to be like, wait a minute, he was in this room. And now all of a sudden they're outside. What happened? How did they get there? And I'm like,
You're like,
oh,
oh
well,
yeah.
I saw it. It happened up here. I just didn't write it down.
That is funny.
So
So, if people are interested, Christine, in connecting with you and getting your books and learning more about you, how do we go about doing that?
I do have, they're all on Amazon. That's probably the easiest way to get them. I do sell direct copies or signed copies direct from me. Um, but it's right now on like a Google form. I fill it out and then I'll send the PayPal invoice. Um, I don't have it with me. Um,
Well, if you give me the information, I'll be sure to put it in the
okay.
description. So if
Yeah,
somebody is wanting to actually purchase a book from you, which is always better, people, than I say, than purchasing from Amazon. If you can purchase
always.
from the author and they can sign it and make it more personal, then I would always say yes, purchase
Right.
from the author. So yes, we'll definitely have all that information in the description. Christine,
Okay.
thank you for being on the author's mic. I'm so happy that you came on
Thank
and took me
you.
up on my offer. I'm just so happy and so, like I said, if you do book signings again,
Mhm.
at, whatever you choose to do, I think it's great that you are out there helping others, wanting to promote the books. That's another thing that we do is, I do the breaking the algorithm. And so
Mhm.
that's another reason why I think it's really cool because you are out here trying to figure out different ways to not only promote yourself, but promote others. Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
so the
always
book
fun when you have
signings,
more
yeah,
fun
the
when
book
you have
signings at the
friends.
brew the breweries were really cool, and other things that you've just done thinking outside the box, which is really what it's all about, to
Yeah,
connect with readers, right? You just can't depend on the social media stuff.
yeah. I'm terrible at that anyway, so
Yeah, I think a lot of us are, but it's a necessary evil to a point. But I,
mm,
I like how you think, and so yeah, I think that's so keep doing it. So when you expand and when you do more, definitely let me know.
I will absolutely. Thank you, Kelly.
You're so welcome. So, you guys, let me do my laundry list of things before I let you go. If you are an author and you're interested in sharing this platform, all you have to do is go to my website, brightheadedpublishing.com. At the top, there's a link. It says be a guest. Click it, fill out the information, and right when you're done, you'll get the link to schedule yourself. So it's truly that simple. If you are thinking, hey, I want to write a book, but I don't know what to do. I've got a 44-page guide. It's called So You Want to Write a Book. It's free. Go to the website, download it. It's yours. Start your indie journey because your words matter, and let's get them out there. If you are interested in joining a book club, we have one. If you're interested in pitching a book club, we have one. And Christine, if you're interested in pitching our book club, pitch us because we are looking for a book. We just finished mine. Wait for it. So we are looking for a new read. We only read books from indie authors. All the
Um,
information is on the website. It's called the Indie Reader Society, the IRS. So if you're a reader, we'd love to have you. If you're an author, please pitch us. And lastly, if you're interested in supporting me, you can go to my website, brightheadedpublishing.com. I am also have my books for sale. I will sign them. I will ship them to you for free. And I've also got some free goodies as well, but you are welcome to get them wherever good books are sold. So Christine, thank you so much for being a part of the Author's Mic. I appreciate you. And definitely when you have those other books coming out, let me know so we can help you promote them, have you come on, tell us about them. Love to help you promote them.
yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome.